This video is going to be on the topic finding slopes of lines parallel and perpendicular to a line given in the form AX plus BY equals C. So this is called standard form, AX plus BY equals C. So we're going to go ahead and put it into another form that makes it a lot easier to find what the slopes of a line are. Now it's a lot easier to consider this line negative 3x minus 5y equals 2 when it's written in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is when it's in the form y equals mx plus b, or y is by itself. And the m stands for our slope. So let's go ahead and put it in this form so that we can figure out what our slope is. So negative 3x minus 5y equals 2. In order to get y by itself, first we have to move the x value to the other side. So let's go ahead and do the opposite of negative 3x, which is positive 3x. Now I'm going to add it, and I'm going to write it before the positive 2 because I ultimately want it to be in this form, right? mx plus b. So that would be equal to negative 5y equals 3x, or positive 3x, plus 2. And now the last step is to get y by itself. So since it's being multiplied by a negative 5, I would divide by negative 5. A negative divided by negative is a positive. You have to multiply, if we're dividing one side, we have to divide the other side. Now you could just write this once and divide this whole thing, but I like to split it up so I remember to divide each term by negative 5. I'm still only dividing this whole thing by negative 5 once. This just helps me remember to do it to each term. So you'll have y by itself now. That's what we wanted. That's the whole reason we did this, was to get y by itself. And then mx would be negative 3 over 5x plus, well, minus, because there's a negative here, 2 over 5. Okay, so we did this whole thing to find the slope. So this is our slope, right? The number, or the coefficient of the x term. So since this is our slope, at negative 3/5, let's look at what that would look like. So if this was your coordinate plane, right? Negative 3/5 would mean that it goes down 3 and over 5. So this is our y-intercept. Not very important for this, but it would be below 0, right? Because it's negative. And then you would be going down 3 and over 5. So it would be something like this. This is kind of what your line would look like, right? It would look something like that. Now we want to know what would the slope of a perpendicular line be and what would the slope of a parallel line be. Remember, perpendicular means that it intersects this line at a 90-degree angle, right? So if this slope was negative 3/5, this one is the opposite reciprocal. So if this slope, like I was saying, was negative 3/5, because that's what we found it was, then the perpendicular line is positive, first of all, because as you can see, if this is a negative slope, this is a positive slope. And because it's intersecting at a 90-degree angle, what you actually do is you just flip the numerator and the denominator. So this sign means it's perpendicular to, and so it was negative, now it's positive 5 over 3. And since it's positive, you don't even need to write the positive. So whenever you have a slope and you want to find the perpendicular slope, you take the opposite, meaning if it's negative, you make it positive. If it's positive, you make it negative. Reciprocal. So you flip the numerator and the denominator to take the reciprocal. So the answer for the perpendicular one would be 5 over 3. What about the slope of a line parallel to it? Well, remember, parallel just means that they will never intersect, so it has the same exact slope. Since it has the same slope, it's also going to be negative 3 over 5, right? You don't have to do anything to it. You just have to know that it's the same. So our answers, what is the slope of a line perpendicular to this line? It's 5/3. And what is the slope of a line parallel to this line? It's negative 3/5.